Welcome, everyone. If you're diving into ethical hacking, penetration testing, or just cybersecurity in general, you already know Kali Linux is an absolute must-have in your toolkit. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to build a secure, fully functional ethical hacking lab using VirtualBox. This method is literally the best way to run Kali Linux safely right alongside your current Windows or Mac OS system without having to replace your existing OS. It's a total game changer. So let's jump right in. We're going to tackle this setup in 6 easy phases today. First, virtualization and VirtualBox. Second, downloading Kali Linux. Third, virtual machine setup. Fourth, Kali Linux installation. Fifth, system optimization. And finally, sharing and testing. All right, phase 1, virtualization and VirtualBox. Before we start clicking around, what actually is VirtualBox? Well, think of it as a secure sandbox. It's virtualization software that lets you run a completely separate operating system inside your current one. It's really the safest way to test out cybersecurity tools because whatever you do stays locked inside that virtual environment. If you make a mistake or a tool totally crashes, no big deal. Your main computer stays completely safe and untouched. But before we install anything, we need to do a quick check. Open up your task manager, head to the Performance tab, and make sure virtualization is enabled. If it's not, you'll need to restart your PC and enable Intel VTEX or AMD V in your BIOS settings. Also, if you're on Windows, there's a built-in feature called Hyper-V that can really mess with VirtualBox. To avoid any headaches, open your command prompt as an administrator, disable Hyper-V, and just reboot your computer to save those changes. Okay, now head over to virtualbox.org and download the software for Windows hosts. And here's absolutely crucial advice. Do not skip the extension pack. You're going to need it for things like USB 3.0, webcam support, and seamless clipboard sharing. Go ahead and install VirtualBox using the default settings. Once that's done, open up the Tools menu inside VirtualBox and install that extension pack we just talked about. Moving on to phase 2, downloading Kali Linux. When you hit the Kali Linux download page, you're going to see a ton of options, which brings up a really good question. Why should we choose the installer image instead of just grabbing a pre-built virtual machine? Here's the deal. A pre-built VM gives you quick access and pre-configured settings, which is, fine if you're in a rush. But the installer image gives us maximum control over our lab. We get to customize the desktop environment and pick the specific software tools we want. Since we're building a professional-grade lab here, we really want that control. So make sure you download the latest 64-bit installer image straight from kali.org. Phase 3, Virtual Machine Setup. Open up VirtualBox and click New. For the name, just type in Kali Linux. Set the OS type to Linux, and for the version, you want to specifically select Debian 64-bit, since Kali is practically based on Debian anyway. For your CPU, give it at least 2 cores for smooth performance, or up to half of your system's total CPU cores. Now let's talk RAM. The absolute minimum requirement is 2 GB, but if you want decent multitasking, 4 GB is highly recommended. But listen carefully, never, ever allocate more than half of your computer's total RAM to this virtual machine. If you give it too much, your main Windows operating system is going to struggle and start freezing up on you. For storage, the bare minimum is 25 GB, but I strongly recommend bumping that up to 50 GB of virtual hard disk space. Giving it 50 GB means your system will run super smooth, and you won't have to constantly manage your storage space down the line when you start adding new tools or saving large packet captures. Before we boot this thing up, we need to tweak a few vital settings. Under the General tab, turn on the bidirectional clipboard and drag and drop. Over in Display, max out that video memory to 128 meg. Then go to your storage settings, click on the empty CD icon, and mount that Kali Linux ISO file we downloaded earlier. As for the network, NAT is the default and it's perfect for basic internet. But if you want your Kali lab to pull its own unique IP address straight from your router, you'll want to switch that to bridged adapter. All right, phase 4, Kali Linux installation. Fire up your VM and hit enter on graphical install. The wizard is going to ask you to set your region and keyboard layout. You can actually just leave the domain name blank. Next, it'll have you create a new user account and password. Please pick a strong password that you're actually going to remember. You're going to need to type this in constantly to run administrative commands in Kali. Now, the disk partitioning screen can look a little intimidating, but for new users, just select Guided Use Entire Disk, and then choose All Files in one partition. And let me just reassure you, selecting Use Entire Disk is 100% safe. It's only going to format that 50 GB virtual drive we just created inside VirtualBox. It is completely isolated from your actual physical hard drive. Next up, you get to pick your desktop environment. GNOME and KDE are both gorgeous and modern, but they eat up a lot of RAM and CPU. Since we're running this inside a virtual machine, I highly recommend sticking with the default option, which is XFCE. It's super lightweight and fast, which is going to give you the absolute best performance for your VM. Phase 5, System Optimization. Let's fix up this screen first. Hit your right control key and F at the same time to toggle full screen mode. Ah, much better. Now, open up your terminal. The very first command you need to run is sudo apt update. This is absolutely critical because it reaches out and downloads all the latest security patches, bug fixes, and software updates for your new system. Here are a few more basic terminal commands you'll find handy. To verify your OS version, run cat/etc/os-release. To monitor your system resources like CPU and RAM usage, just type htop. And of course, to make features like seamless screen resizing work, you need the VirtualBox guest editions installed. Luckily, newer versions of Kali usually include this right out of the box, so just verify it's there and give your VM a quick reboot. And finally, Phase 6, Sharing and Testing. To easily move files between your host Windows machine and your Kali VM, we really need to set up a shared folder. Over on your Windows side, create a folder and call it something like Kali Share. Then, jump into your VirtualBox VM settings, go to the Shared Folders tab, and select the path to that folder. Make sure you check both Auto Mount and Make Permanent so it stays connected even after a restart. After that, just reboot your Kali VM one more time. Let's run a few final tests to make sure everything is perfect. You might want to adjust your display scaling to 1.25 just so the fonts are nice and crisp. Try copying some text from your Windows host and pasting it right into your Kali terminal. Then, try dragging an image or file from Windows and dropping it directly onto your Kali desktop. Finally, open up your Kali file manager and make sure you can actually see and access that shared folder we just made. If all those tests worked, then huge congratulations. Your secure, fully optimized ethical hacking lab is completely ready to go. So I've got a quick question for you. With hundreds of tools now at your fingertips in this new environment, which one are you going to test first? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and best of luck on your cybersecurity journey.